Good morning. Happy Coffee Talk Tuesday or just Tuesday, whatever. Did yesterday also for you feel like, and if you're watching this days later, you're probably going crazy, but did yesterday also feel like 3 days rolled into one for you? I feel like I got so much done yesterday. I don't know. How are you doing? How is your week going? Are you feeling like you're crushing it? You are running the week? I certainly hope so. If not, take a pause, look at those priorities, and realign yourself, and let's tackle this week. So, it is our last day of this series of the four agreements, and I'm a little sad. I'm a little sad to see it go. I've really enjoyed having this series and kind of rolling through an entire book with you. And if you liked this, please let me know because I have some ideas for doing other similar series where we're kind of really focused and diving in and learning more about awareness and ourselves and, as this book says, working our way toward our own personal freedom. I love it. So we have been on quite a journey. We started at the top with our first three agreements, and now we're here. So, over the last few weeks, we have learned to be impeccable with our word, not to make assumptions, not to take anything personally, and now we're here. Agreement number 4 is always do your best. Now, you might be like, well, obviously, right? But how many of you going through this book or working through this series have felt this way that you knew the words on the page so well. You felt every word, every idea, every action. It's like you knew this book before you even picked it up. I certainly felt that way, and it's meant to be that way. This book kind of takes you on this journey of unlearning or self-awareness or realizing something that you were born with but forgot through all of this, what the author calls this like domestication, this like this forced education, right? So you were born already knowing all of the agreements. That's how we were born, but we were taught to make assumptions, and we're taught to take things personally, and we're taught to feel guilt and gossip and all of these other things. So it's kind of like going back to our roots almost, going through this book and discovering. So on this journey, so today the last assumption, the fourth agreement is always do your best. And there are a couple of caveats. So do you, at the end of the day, do you do this too? Do you look in the mirror, or do you reflect and write in a journal or something and ask yourself, did I give my best today? Did I do my best today? What is it that I did today? Did I tell the truth? Did I find guilt? Did I do good things? I don't know. Do you reflect? If not, it might be a good practice to start getting into. You really start to build more self-awareness the more that you sit back and reflect on what it is that you are going through every single day. And it doesn't take long. I mean, I take maybe 5 minutes to journal every day. That's it. Probably did not take that little time when I first started, but you kind of get into a rhythm, and you become a little more honest with yourself when you start to journal every single day. You can't hide from yourself, right? You know your truth, and you cannot lie to yourself. I mean, you can try, but it comes back. So with this idea of always do your best, I find a couple of caveats with it. So your best is going to change from day to day. Your best will change from day to day. I feel like I need to say that 18,000 times because I see it in fitness classes. I think I relearned this idea or this agreement the best by doing um, regular yoga practice because in yoga, you learn that you show up differently to your practice every single day. And by that, I mean, you might have abilities one day on the mat. Like things might just be in a flow. Like you're feeling good in your body. You stretched 2 days before, and now you're reaping the benefits of that. So you might be able to fold kind of deeply. You kind of hit a rhythm. But then the very next day, you could come to your mat and just want to sit in child's pose all day. But then you start to beat yourself up because you're like, well, yesterday I was doing like back bend, so what the heck? But it's a practice. So just like working through these four agreements, it's a practice. So every single day you're going to approach it, it's going to be different. So your best will change from day to day. What you're able to offer will change from day to day. That's why I think you can say always do your best, because it will change and you need to give yourself that grace. Some days your work is going to be the highest quality, and or you'll be able to deliver the highest quality, and you should give that. But some days it's just going to be good, and you should give that. And I think that's been the hardest thing for me to learn as a creator, as a content producer. I don't like that term. I don't like saying that. I don't like, but that's what I do. I make content. It's hard to come to terms with the fact that your quality could change from day to day, and it's your very best effort. But once you allow yourself that, oh my gosh, you are setting yourself so free. So that's the first caveat, is that your best will change from day to day. And the second one is similar, but to achieve or bring your best, do no more than your best and no less than your best. By doing no more, you know, the whole like, oh my gosh, they were trying too hard. That idea, have you ever just tried too hard where you were like, I just need to back up and sit this one out? I have definitely faced that before, where it's like, I could do this, I could do this. But then you find yourself expending way too much unnecessary energy. You feel exhausted, you feel stressed even, and those are not natural things. I mean, a little bit of stress is good, but feeling exhausted by trying to provide something or by trying to give your energy is just not worth it. So if you do no more and no less than your best, you are giving the exact right amount of energy to a task. And I think that is why, and growing up, I heard this so much, and maybe you did too. Well, if you love your job, you will never work a day in your life. Have you heard that? Have you said that? Have you said that? How many of you have heard that growing up, that man, if you really are good at your job, if you find what you love to do, you will just never work, ever work a day in your life. I agree and disagree with this statement, because anything you do is work, right? I love teaching fitness, but there is work that goes into it, and nothing makes me happier than seeing people grasp the choreography that I've created, or nail that tuck jump they've been trying really hard to nail. Or a couple weeks ago, somebody said to me, like, I finally got the burpees on the beat, like for one of our classes. And I was like, yes, you did. I saw it. It was awesome. And we like connected eyes, and it was a beautiful moment. But it is work, but it brings you joy. So it doesn't feel stressful, or you don't feel exhausted at the end of the day. Sometimes I feel exhausted in a very good way, where I'm like, yes, we did the things. We did the things. It was hard, but we got there. So I think if you bring exactly the amount of energy and you do exactly your best, which is a practice and it takes time to develop, you will get those feelings of like, you know what, this didn't feel like work. This felt like it was right. This felt like it was something I was meant to do. Even though it is work, it won't feel that way necessarily, but it is still work. So I kind of like that whole statement. I'm kind of like, I don't know if I believe that. But for me, and you need to figure this out for you. What is your best? But for me, when I'm giving exactly my best, and not extending any additional or any less energy, I'm living intentionally. I'm productive not busy. I hate busy. Like, let's cut that whole busy thing. Busy means like erratic and unproductive work. And I think we need to get to the word productive, but in a way that isn't like every single day has to have like 10 tasks and you have to hit every single task and that means productive. I do three major tasks a week and I feel really productive at the end of my week because I've set a realistic goal. I'm able to achieve alignment. I feel like I've done the right amount of work. I've done the right amount of relax. I've done the right amount of, for me, creation because I like to create new things. I found alignment between giving and earning, where I feel like I've given exactly what I could, and I have received or earned what I could. And I have the ability to put work away. So for me, that means that's doing my best. And you have to define for yourself what doing your best is and realizing that day to day it could change. I set big goals for myself, but I kind of chunk them realistically. So I'm not doing exactly the same thing every day. And I think that's where we feel like we fall short, is that we think, man, I gave this exact effort yesterday and today, if I'm not doing that, I should just give up. I should just go back to bed because like what's the point? I need to give exactly the same amount. But every day, we're human and the weather affects us, and whether you believe it or not, the moon affects you. And we may have eaten something a couple days ago that's now affecting us. Like every single day, you're showing up just a little bit differently. So we need to allow ourselves that grace to define best for that particular day. And what is it that you feel when you feel like you're not doing your best? Do you feel guilt? Do you feel regret? Do you feel sad? Like we shouldn't have to feel those things about the work that we're doing or about the things that we're doing. And if you are feeling like you're not hitting goals or not doing well, I mean, maybe it's time to look at what your productivity is, like what you're aiming to do. Are you setting goals? Are you working in the right place? Um, all of that kind of factors in, right? You have to think about what is the environment like, but not this idea of like the next thing will be better, the next place will be better, the next job will be better. Because if you keep chasing that idea, that's a wormhole you don't want to go down. You want to, start with yourself and say like, am I actually doing everything I could be doing? Am I actually delivering my best, or am I just checking boxes? And if you don't feel passionate about the work that you're doing, then yeah, it's time to move on. Let somebody else fill those shoes and go do something else that you're meant to do, and that's okay. I've left work that I thought I really would love and would love for the rest of my life, and ended up not being for me. So that's okay. That's okay. You deserve to show up as your best every day. You deserve to give the energy that is meant for you every day. You deserve to feel good. You deserve all of those things. And this book really helps build that self-awareness for realizing, okay, maybe I should stop saying bad things. Maybe I should be impeccable with my word. Maybe I should stop gossiping and talking about other people and focus more on myself. Reality check. Maybe I'm too sensitive and I take things too personally, and when somebody says something about my work, I get defensive because maybe it's not my best work, right? Maybe I I tell myself every day that I can't do something. I make this assumption that I'm not good enough. Maybe I need to stop doing that. You have to notice that you're doing it in order to stop doing it, though. So that's why I really, really encourage daily journaling and even just working through this book and asking yourself those hard questions. Man, like the first time I read this book, I was like, that's weird. The second time I was like, okay, maybe there are some things in here that I could learn. And this is like number 6 or 7 that I've read this book with doing this chat series, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. And there is a fifth agreement. There is a fifth agreement, and it's more about it's thicker. It's a little more to work through. It's a more practical guide. And the fifth agreement is kind of like be skeptical, but learn to listen. So it's definitely more about that self-awareness path. But I haven't done this since we've started this, but I really wanted to read this I think this passage is what made me read this book a third time and decide to come back and offer it to share with other people. That's when this passage that I'm about to read you is what made me gift this book to like 6 people. One of them anonymously. Yes, I did. Okay. So this is talking about always doing your best. Gonna story time. Are you ready for this? The first 3 agreements this is on page 85 if you're following along. The first 3 agreements will only work if you do your best. Don't expect that you will always be able to be impeccable with your word. Your routine habits are too strong and firmly rooted in your mind, but you can do your best. Don't expect that you will never take anything personally. Just do your best. Don't expect that you will never make another assumption, but you can certainly do your best. By doing your best, the habits of misusing your word, taking things personally, and making assumptions will become weaker and less frequent with time. You don't need to judge yourself, feel guilty, or punish yourself if you cannot keep these agreements. If you're doing your best, you will feel good about yourself even if you still make assumptions, still take things personally, and still are not impeccable with your word. If you do your best always, over and over again, you will become a master of transformation. Practice makes the master. By doing your best, you become a master. Everything you've ever learned, you learned through repetition. You learned to write, to drive, and even to walk by repetition. You are a master of speaking your language because you practiced. Action is what makes the difference. If you do your best in the search for personal freedom and the search for self-love, you will discover that it's just a matter of time before you find what you're looking for. I love that. So we kick ourselves if we don't follow something perfectly. And this is saying, yeah, you're going to screw up. It's going to happen. You're going to screw up. But what you need to do is get back up the next day and realize, okay, yesterday I got on the gossip train and I did not say some nice things, but today I'm going to do my best and I'm going to work on being impeccable with my word. It's a work. It's a work in progress. It takes time. It takes effort. And the biggest thing is that it takes action. No hoping, no wishing, no thinking, doing. It takes the action. That is what takes you from okay to your best. Action. Action. Isn't that freaking powerful? I get goosebumps every time I share these lines or reread some of these words. It's just like amazing. So what action are you going to take now? Now that you are empowered and you have these ideas where you can become a little more self-aware of being impeccable with your word, of not taking things personally, of not making assumptions and doing your best. What can you do now? What is your next step? What thing are you going to do to show up as your best that you have been hiding? This is your time. If you were looking for a sign, this is it. This is it. Action. So thank you guys so much for working through this series, this 4 agreements book with me. If you liked having a series, let me know. I have some ideas for other ones. If you have books that you feel like we should work through or ideas that you really want to like workshop and talk through, let me know. I love your suggestions. I almost always implement your suggestions. So thank you so much. And let's go forth and always do our best. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, guys. Bye.